Well, hey there, church. I'm Ben, a youth pastor here at the Gathering Place. And I want to ask you a question. Has anybody ever threatened your life? Has anybody ever wanted to hurt you or take your life? I know for me, as far as I know, nobody has ever plotted against me to hurt me in any way or take my life or anything to that extreme. I could say that I've definitely had relationships in my life that I haven't necessarily liked. Maybe some friends that have, stabbed me in the back or done me wrong that I might not really want to see or interact with, but circumstance would make it such that I'd have to see them again. So my question to you today is just, have you ever experienced somebody that maybe just wanted to hurt you or kind of rubbed you the wrong way, or there was a bad relationship? And what did you do with that relationship? What did you do with somebody in your life or in your world that was against you? Because today, as we are going through Passion Week, I'm going to look at day 4, Thursday, for Jesus. And he's getting ready for the Passover meal with his disciples. And I think that there's something really interesting that we can see from Jesus. I just want to look at his countenance and just his demeanor in the midst of somebody that was going to betray him. So let's look at the countenance of Christ in the midst of a betrayer. So I want to look at Luke chapter 22. Now, the first few verses I'm going to read actually go back to day 3 or Wednesday. Judas he's basically working to betray Jesus, but I just want to read these first 6 verses, and it says this. Now the feast of unleavened bread drew near, which is called the Passover. And the chief priests and the scribes were seeking how to put him to death, for they feared the people. They're seeking to put Jesus to death. Then Satan entered into Judas, called Iscariot, who was of the number of the 12. He went away and conferred with the chief priests and the officers how he might betray him to them. And they were glad and agreed to give him money. So he consented and sought an opportunity to betray him to them in the absence of the crowd. Now, right here, I just really obviously this is Wednesday, this is the day before the Passover meal. But I think that it's really important to just look at verse 3 real quick. And this stuck out to me, but it says, then Satan entered into Judas, called Iscariot, who was of the number of the 12. Meaning Judas was one of the 12 disciples. He was close with Jesus. He had worked with Jesus for a really long time. And he was friends with Jesus. And Satan worked his way into the story, and he's working in Judas's heart and mind. And Judas is about to betray, he's getting ready to betray Christ. So moving forward, we're getting ready and we're getting into day 4 here. Which is the Passover, where Jesus has the final meal with his disciples. And I want to move quickly here, and I just want to go right to verse 14. Verse 14 of Luke 22 says, and when the hour came, he reclined at the table, meaning Jesus, and the apostles with him. And he said to them, I have earnestly desired to eat this Passover with you before I suffer. So just looking at those verses right there, Jesus is with his 12 disciples for one final meal. Jesus knew what was coming. And Jesus, being God himself, wasn't surprised. He knew what Judas was up to. And he knew that this was foretold for his life. So this wasn't a surprise to him. But I think that it's so cool to think of Jesus with his 12 disciples, of which one was going to stab him in the back really, really bad. He's literally reclining. He's chilling with his disciples. He's having a conversation with them. They're shooting the breeze. They're having a meal. And I just felt like I was inspired by this, because I know that there's some times where I literally am with a group of people, and maybe there's somebody in that group that I've had a disagreement with, or somebody that I just don't like for whatever reason. And it can be really hard to be in that crowd. It can be really hard to be with those people if I have something against an individual. I don't know if you can relate with that, but to think and to put ourselves in Jesus's shoes, What an amazing countenance for Christ to be able to sit with his 12 disciples, knowing that one was going to betray him, and he's just reclining, and he's enjoying his time with his disciples. I just find that really inspirational. And then just moving, they end up having the Last Supper together, and essentially we see communion happen. And moving down to verse 21, and it says, "But behold, the hand of him who betrays me is with me on the table." It was no secret, Jesus knew. "For the Son of Man goes as it has been determined, but woe to the man by whom he is betrayed." And then obviously the disciples around the table, it says verse 23, "And they began to question one another, which of them it could be who was going to do this." Again, I just find this so fascinating that Jesus all along, as he sat down with the 12 at dinner, he knew there was one at the table, he knew it was Judas, that was going to betray him, literally, eventually to death. Yet he still sits with the 12. He doesn't call Judas out before dinner. He doesn't say, "Hey, Judas, let's go talk. I know what you've been up to. I know what you're planning to do." No, he still has dinner with his disciples. He still sits, he reclines, he's chilling out, he's having conversation with them, and he's still loving on them just the same. I just find that so amazing, because to even think like Easter dinner, maybe you'll be gathering with your family or friends or something, or maybe you'll be with somebody that you don't necessarily want to be with. Well, let's look at Christ. Let's look at the fact that he was with his 12. He was able to recline. He was able to relax, knowing that God had a plan, God was in control, and that God was going to do something amazing with his life. Jesus was relaxing. So first and foremost, I just wanted to point out that Jesus had a countenance of just reclining, relaxing, and trusting the Lord. But it didn't end there, because I think that there's something really important for us to still see about Jesus in this final supper. In Luke 22, verse 24, I'll read through verse 30, but it says, "A dispute also arose among them as to which of them would be regarded as the greatest. And he said to them," so Jesus says, "The kings of the Gentiles exercise lordship over them, and those in authority over them are called benefactors. But not so with you. Rather, let the greatest among you become the youngest, and the leader as one who serves." Verse 27, "For who is greater, one who reclines at a table or one who serves? It is not the one who reclines at the table. Is it not the one who reclines at the table? But I am among you as the one who serves." So right there, we just see that Jesus is bringing importance to not like, it's not about just sitting and relaxing and reclining and exercising lordship or authority over people. And that can be the tendency for us as people to desire power, to desire to not ever be like inconvenienced. We want to exercise authority. We want to exercise lordship. We don't want people messing with us. But Jesus challenges that. And he says right in this moment after dinner, even after they've been just enjoying their time and reclining, Jesus is like, no, it's not just about just power or reclining and living the good life. No, it's about being one that serves. And Jesus says, look, I'm the ultimate example of service. And this is like a foreshadowing of what he's going to do on the cross for every single person on planet Earth, to go and to die, to serve every single person so that they can have a relationship with God the Father. So just in this last day at this meal, I was encouraged to look at the countenance of Christ in his final moments, and to be inspired even in the midst of somebody that was about to betray him. He was reclining, he was relaxing, knowing that God was in control, and he was also in this mindset of literally ultimate service. It's about serving others. It's about giving for others. So I hope this has given you some food for thought in the midst of this Passion Week. Christ is our ultimate example, and his countenance in the midst of a betrayer was that of reclining, relaxing, trusting God, and also just this heart of service and love. I hope that you've been encouraged today. God bless.